Welcome to Wild Hearts, guys.
Oh my gosh.
We are back. This is episode 19. We're here with Amy VanHaren, and we're going to give her an introduction of who she is here briefly. But we got some updates Michaela's going to let you all know about.
I feel like very close to you right now.
Yeah.
I feel extra close.
There you go.
All right. Like you feel like you're really far away from me. Hold
yeah,
on.
just get more.
Rearrangement. Okay. Quick arrangements here. Yeah, so this week, we missed you guys last week, but we have a lot going on. We are officially on Spotify. Woohoo! Yes, so we are very excited about that. So you'll be on Spotify, so that's exciting.
I get to be your first Spotify.
Yeah. So we can find past episodes there now, so you can listen in your car, whatever you're doing, you can have us going on in the background.
You also brush your teeth in the shower.
So that's very exciting.
I always brush my teeth in the shower.
Oh my gosh, if Ryan is listening, we had a great conversation about
No,
this.
this is great. We literally had like a 30-minute conversation
Yeah.
about like how Rhea brushes her teeth in the shower. You do or you
no,
don't?
it really grosses me out.
Really?
Yeah.
I just, because I have an electric toothbrush.
Yeah.
So it's 2
She
minutes.
does too.
And so for the time, it's like, I'm not washing my hair and such while I'm brushing my teeth. You're just letting the water run and your toothbrush is running, and it's like a quiet little spa moment.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Okay.
And this is so good. I love this. That's why this whole conversation came up because my cousin Zach just literally drove across the country from Arizona, moved in with me, and I'm just one of those people where like everything has its place. And now that I'm like having to share a bathroom with him, all of a sudden there was like a toothbrush where my soap is. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's this?
Well, I
don't leave my toothbrush in the shower.
Yeah,
But
That sounds like a personal problem.
For me, it's become part of the routine.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, yeah, please.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Oh my god.
So that's the biggest piece of news that we have going on this week.
That's big news. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's big news.
Yeah, it's great. I also, because she forgot about this, so I'm going to say it. So we do have some other projects that we do have in the works. So just be paying attention for those in the upcoming weeks. So we're really excited about them and partnering up, doing some more collabs with some cool people in the community.
We did have a fun collaboration this week where Sean got to MC and we got to sponsor an event at LA Beats Dance Studio called Shape Your Own Luck. Shape Your Luck.
There you go.
Shape Your Luck. I was like, what's it called? Shape Your Luck. So that was really fun too. Did you part of that?
Just doing the things.
Doing the things.
All right, do you want to introduce ourselves or should we go right?
Yeah, we don't really have any of Amy's. We don't have Amy live, so we can just kind of.
All right, peeps, we're going to tell you
Dive
who
on
this
in.
amazing lady is right here. So Amy VanHaren is an entrepreneur, mother, and the founder and CEO of Pumpspotting, a community-driven breastfeeding platform, and VanHaren Creative, a social marketing agency. She specializes in building communities and is on a fierce mission to make the world connected and supportive for new nursing and pumping mothers.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for
having
having me.
me.
Yeah.
We're so
excited to be here.
Yeah, this is incredible. And guys, so this is an awesome story about how we have Amy on here. I just love this. It's my favorite. So we went to Creative Mornings, and Amy just like lit up the stage. And for some reason, I was sitting in the front row, and like literally, I was like this entire time because I was so
I don't
excited.
know why we got stuck in not stuck.
We were taking pictures.
We're so lucky.
You were meant to be, because I have to say from my side, like your energy was so wonderful. And
Oh, good.
Because it is, you're up there and it's scary and it's a bit nerve-wracking and intimidating, but you were so invested and excited about what I was doing. So
Yeah, I felt like a 5-year-old kid, and then I'm not gonna give this part of your story because I think it's like a really cool part. But there was like, I'm just gonna say it was like after some certain things, and you bought something with your lights doing things, and like I was just like I fell in love with you more. We've got our podcast. Like, that was exactly how it happened. So
Yeah, we were very engaged.
Yeah.
I think I know for me, I think a lot of just what we do with the podcast, and we just saw so much of the strength that you could bring to listeners. So that was so great. And I mean, not to just keep tooting your horn here, but it was so.
Yeah, you're like okay.
Something that I think that is just so special and neat about you and having a conversation with you and how you share who you are and your story is that you so obviously walk in your truth authentically. I was telling someone the other day so we met Amy at Creative Mornings, and then we got coffee with Amy at Haren last Friday. And then right after, so you were like, you didn't have like your hair and like makeup all done. You were just like having coffee with us at Haren. And then 2 hours later, I was at the, oh my God, my memory.
3S Art Space.
3S Art Space for the event with
Laser
on Trail. And which Amy spoke as a panelist at that event. And then it was just so cool to see like, who did hair? Was it Jessica Todd? Makeup?
Yes, someone from Jessica Todd.
Yeah.
Had
like, you had
I had fake eyelashes
Yeah.
for the first time in my whole life. Wearing
So
more
she's,
makeup
like,
than ever.
all glammed up, and I was like, the thing that was so cool though is because the way that you speak when you're sitting in a coffee shop, just like with a latte or a smoothie, is like the same way you speak when you're on stage, like all glammed up with your fake eyelashes. So I just think that's such a special quality.
So nice of you to say that.
Yeah.
And you know what's really funny is that one of the panelists, and in, you know, she was amazing and inspirational, but she was talking about how she's really an introvert and that she has, for her work and for what she does, she has a real onstage persona. But that her friends really see her as her and what have you. And it stuck with me because I cannot do that. Like I mean, certainly there are elements of your personality that we're always turning up in certain situations. Sure. You know, you need to come across as intelligent and professional in a business setting. You know, you can be funnier or laid back in other places. But it's funny to hear you say that because I was thinking how much for me, it just comes out. Like whatever comes out or comes up is what it is. And I think that right before we started, we were talking about the fact that, you know, in business, sometimes you're told not to have your emotions or to really let things out. And I've always been someone who just feels things at 1,000%, like since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's like everything, all good. I mean, I'm an optimist, so all good, but like all bad, all whatever. I just go from 0 to 100 in terms of emotions, and I can't turn that off, even professionally. It's like if I'm feeling something in the moment, I can practice to try and not let it like come pouring out.
Yeah.
But to some extent, you know, I just had an investor meeting and I was just going and going and going, and I could like in my head I was like, please stop this, Amy. Like stop talking. You know, like dial it back. Like just see his face, and he was looking at me, and I got done, and I was like, I just do this. Like just thought I let too much out, and you know, put my cards on the table, and he was like, I'm really inspired by how passionate you are. Yeah. It was like he wasn't thinking about the missteps I was making in terms of the way that you're supposed to appear. He just like, okay, I get it. You love this.
Yeah. But that's so. Thank you for saying that, because I think like that's such a breath of fresh air. Because as we were talking about, you feel. I think it's just so brave to just walk into who you truly are and that truth, and like whatever. Obviously, there's like certain things you gotta like censor. Obviously, not like everything that comes up, you know.
Right.
But for the most part, to just walk from that place, like your heart, and just like, and it's so funny also, because I can go back to the event I just did this weekend, like your perception of what's happening versus like how other people are receiving it is oftentimes 1,000% different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was up at the event and like I was so nervous and anxiety that like just straight up. Probably excited, but you know, she was walking around saying like people are like, fine, like you can touch me in the event. You know, I'm over here just like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like a different experience.
Yeah, perception is so different. And I think, I mean, I've made mistakes. Like, I'm not always, what comes out isn't always the best. Sometimes there should be mindfulness more in terms of what it is. But I think as long as you can learn from that, at least that's the way I feel. As long as I can then decompress after the event or the situation or the meeting and say, gosh, you know what, could there have been a different way to express those emotions so that I wasn't not being true to them or putting them forward, but, you know, could I have thought about a different way to do it that might have made that more productive or more impactful or not turn someone off or what have you. But
I think at the end of the day though, like people relate most to to the honesty and to the passion, and like a lot of times people can read through like a persona that you're putting on.
yeah.
So I think a lot of times it's like comforting for people to be like, oh, like you're maybe don't seem like 150% confident or like planned, but like I can like see the passion in what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's comforting.
I think the stage I'm at right now, since we're here to talk about vulnerability, is that I can only be the persona I am. And now that we're trying to take our business to the next level, there's so much expectation about what a founder that's taking something to a bigger level is. If you're asking someone to invest in you, for example, they're really looking at you as a business mind and a leader and, you know, what have you. And so every night I go to bed thinking, I can't be anything but what I am, but is what I am truly going to be enough to move Pumpspotting forward to where I want it to go? And that's just like, it just keeps you awake, because if you can't change who you are, but you want who you are to move things forward, and then the answer is that you're not the right person, or you're never going to get there, it's the scariest thing in the world.
Wow. Oh my God, that's like, to hear you say stuff like this, because like, again, perception is, everyone's is so different.
Right.
Like, when you have two businesses, your mother, like you're gonna go more. I don't want to get too much of yourself away, but all the stuff you're doing, and just hear like you're human, right? And I think even like I'm just starting to get, the more you dive into these things that scare you, like you can look at these other people, like maybe that are like a higher level, so to speak, and just like see that they're human and that this is probably what they're thinking, right? Like we love to put people on pedestals, but
It's true.
Like everyone's probably going
to bed.
You know, Avicii's probably going to bed after just doing like a $1 million concert, and he's like, you know.
But someone that I work with, we were joking because I posted something about an event I had spoken at, and a friend of mine on Instagram, because the way that social is, she's like, "You're such a rock star." And I looked at that comment, I turned to Sarah, and I was like, "Yeah, behind every rock star is a nervous wreck." Yeah, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt. And so you're like, that's great, that's super complimentary, but the truth is that perception, I never feel like that. I always feel like I'm thinking about my next move or how it's going to come across or what you're doing.
Yeah, like
anyway, I don't know. There might be some rock stars like Keith Richards who are nervous.
Yeah, maybe.
But a lot of us feel like.
I mean, I don't even know though. Like, because a lot of people say it gets easier, and maybe it does, but maybe after you do it for 30 years. But you look at so many. I like to look at rock stars, like we're talking about rock stars. So a lot of these guys have had these like crazy stories, and I've listened to podcasts where they talk about like they felt guilty for just getting this massive success or just doing something that they're like, dude, I just like played music in my garage and now I'm like playing in front of a bazillion people. And I think I want to go back to what we talked about, the feeling. So you said you feel from like 1,000%, and I actually was just having this conversation the other day with someone of, sometimes I wonder what it would be like to jump in someone else's body, to feel how they feel. Because I know for me, especially lately, I've always been sensitive, but I don't know, it's on like hyperdrive lately where I feel everything like so intense, and I'm like, how am I gonna like get up and do these things with all these super intense feelings? I mean, they're part of the experience, but I think it's so crazy. Well, the more you care about something, and at least this has been my experience, the more I've cared about the projects I've done or the businesses I build, you just naturally, more of yourself goes into it. And I think those feelings just can't, like, they have to amplify or you wouldn't be doing it. And so then you are more sensitive or heightened to everything. But I think all the time, you know, my husband, for example, is someone who's really good at more black and white. Like, it's this or that. Like, this person said this or say that.
I know what that's like.
I know, but thinking of jumping into someone's body, I'm frequently thinking, gosh, I'm sometimes, like, I'm so, first of all, grateful that you're, like, providing that perspective on my life, because I'm not very good at asking those questions in that way. And secondary, like, how nice it must be sometimes to not have to bring 1,000% feelings to the table. Like, sometimes not every interaction requires that level of commitment. No. It's more like, you know, if I'm not going to worry about it 5 years from now, why am I spending more than 5 minutes thinking about what it is? But I think that's where I've always innately been built that way. For sure.
So I wonder though, because you've made some decisions in your life, which I think maybe this might be a little premature in a discussion to dive into, but it's like, I feel like there's one thing that's coming to mind that maybe might have felt like a black and white decision for you, and it was like, that's just what we're doing next. So I don't really want to give that away yet. But maybe we can just kind of start.
I was going to say, am I supposed to tell my story?
I really want to
I'm sorry, everyone.
I'm sorry. No, this is so good. I like the beginning conversation.
Okay, so I guess where to start. So yes, so my for a long time, for 7 years now, I've owned a social marketing agency, and really my background is I got my MFA in nonfiction, and I've always been sort of a storyteller and a writer. I'm drawn to stories of people in particular, and for me, I was always a nonfiction writer, not a memoirist, because I never felt like my life was that interesting. I love the idea of stepping into someone else's shoes and being able to convey that. And then when social media started to take off, I found the form so compelling, the way people were telling visual and snippets of stories. And so at a time when journalism was really shifting, there was something interesting to me about digital formats and what have you. So that's how I started my career in social marketing. And so I was community building for a long time, working for a lot of organic food companies and helping nourish other people. And then when my son was born, my second child, I live here in Maine, and most of my clients were located in Northern California. And so I had to go back to work when he was 6 weeks old, first of all, which was really hard. If if anyone's ever been there, that's really soon after becoming a new mother to have to be separated from your little one. But when you run your own business, maternity leave, there is no one to cover essentially at all. In fact, I had my first employee at that time. She wasn't even a full-time employee. Allie's totally lovely, but I had to get someone on board to just help cover the transition period, and then I had to go back to work. So I found myself flying across the country every month from Maine to California, which can be a 7-hour flight. And for those of you who don't know, when you are breastfeeding, you have to do it pretty much every 2 hours. So if you do the math, there was a lot of pumping that was happening for me. I mean, I literally I would wake up at 4 a.m. to nurse Max, and then I would, pack my clothes for the trip and get breakfast and, hang out with the family for a minute, and then take the CJ bus down to Boston, and then I would pump in the airport, and then I would pump on the plane, usually between two people in the middle of a seat, which is super sexy and fun. Really, really mortifying, because you're like doing something so important like this, I'm feeding my family. But I'm in a situation that's uncomfortable and awkward, and the machines aren't well built, and I literally would be on the plane wearing my nursing cover with my hand pump, like navigating it, just like, I get so flushed when my emotions flush and sweating and just thinking, no one look at me, in this moment. And then luckily, the more I did it, the more I got oh yeah, I'm doing, you kind of get this confidence to be I am doing this thing that takes a lot of work and commitment. For me, it was a lot of pride in terms of I'm committed to you this way. And then I get to the airport and I would have to pump again. And meanwhile, you're freezing all this milk and ice and navigating it. And I have to find a place with dry ice and drive to that. And I'm going way off course, but
I think we could end the podcast right now and you can test people.
Well, I also want to stop you too, because I think you talk about it and how it's this awkward thing, but your commitment to something that's so sacred. If we just pump the brakes for a minute to really realize how sacred that is, obviously being on a plane between two people doesn't feel that sacred, but you're making a commitment to nourish your child. Yeah. And that's pretty special in itself, and the fact that it's beyond yourself, right? It's one of those things that's beyond you. So you're all right, guys, here we go. Just do my things. I don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah, close enough. Good enough. Good enough. No, you're right. I think it is, and that's for anyone who's ever breastfed, and everyone does it differently because everyone's situation is different in terms of how you can nourish your family. But for me, I had seen how healthy my daughter was by being able to nurse her, and I knew the first time around it's just such a commitment. It really is, and you're still going through all these emotions. And then for me, it was this added layer of logistics in terms of the travel and the shipping and all that stuff. So I was, in the middle of navigating all this and really trying to nourish my family and nourish my career, because that mattered to me as well. I loved my work. I loved my clients. I loved what I was doing. And I just felt really isolated and alone, all the time. You're in a bathroom stall hooked up to this machine. It sounds like Darth Vader, feeling just what am I doing? And that it's important, but you really do. I felt so alone. And so I started talking to people, I started having lots of conversations with other women, like, how are you doing this? And like, are you still breastfeeding while working? And like, are you going crazy? Like, are you literally thinking your breast pump is talking to you in the middle of the night? And the consensus was yes.
Yes. Okay.
Like, yes. Gosh. Everybody was like, you know, gosh. I can swear it.
Please swear. Please
Okay.
swear. Yeah.
I was gonna say, fuck, this is hard. Like, everyone, you know, I talked to felt that. And so every time I talked to other women who'd been through this, I felt so much better. So much better. It was like fresh air. It was like, it would restore me to the point of which I started thinking about all these places we were coming and all these emotions we were having, and that no one in this day and age was building space to bring us together, to allow us to support one another through that way. I mean, you know, there was Facebook and there were all these places, but it just felt like we're always on our phones for one thing. So that's why I started thinking about an app, was the fact that, like, in the palm of your hand, what if you had, you know, thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of women who you could feel as though, like, just because I'm in this bathroom stall, I know that right there are all these beautiful people who are doing the same thing. There was so much strength in that to me. So that led me to decide that I was gonna build it. I said, if it's not out there, I'm gonna create it. And I had no idea how to do that because I'd never built an app. I mean, I knew how to do social media posts, but I used other people's platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I never created my own. Do you want me to keep going? Or?
Yeah. I just to pause real quick, like, I think that's such a beautiful, like, the way that you thought this through is such a beautiful way of, like, taking, because we look at social media and can look at it in such a negative way.
Yeah.
Like our phones and apps and social media, because we just aimlessly find ourselves scrolling or like comparing ourselves to other people or like whatever it may be. But just the way that you said that, I think is just such a beautiful way of looking at something and figuring out how you can make it a positive thing. Like using this small like tool to feel not so alone.
Yeah. Well, I think even when you have control over it, when it's like I'm mindfully going to this space because I need an uplift, or I need someone to hear me, or I need to feel, the connection of something. There's something really valid in that. And exactly, I think technology, it's sort of run away with us in so many ways, but I think there are elements of it that really can improve our experience.
Well, I see it as like a valuable tool too, because you're sitting in this stall, like you're feeling alone. Like I'm assuming, like I don't know, but maybe there's like feelings of depression or anxiety or just like all these other like isolating thoughts. And again, it's just another tool in your tool belt to like keep you on track, keep you at a level head or in a good space where you're just like, all right, clearly not having the greatest thoughts. So I'm not alone. Let me just pop on here. Hey, how's it going? Oh my God, Tina's in the stall next to me right now. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I just thought of it.
No,
you don't know.
No, I mean, the statistics are striking. I mean, it's 1 in 9 new mothers experience postpartum depression. I mean, that is huge. New motherhood is hard and it's overwhelming and it is so isolating. And so it is a time of life when your hormones are crazy, your lack of sleep, you have all these things going on that are sort of stacked up against you in terms of being in like a rational, healthy state that you do. And also at the same time, you're trying to keep a baby alive. Like someone else's soul, livelihood depends on you. And like the pressure of that alone, let alone like having to figure out each piece of that or phase. And I think sometimes, like I was really fortunate to have an amazing support system. I had a great partner. I had, coworkers who were really, positive to help me with breastfeeding and navigating all of that. And I still was like sobbing every night.
Yeah.
So then, you think about all the other people who are feeling so alone and navigating this without a support system. It's just like there's so much to unpack in terms of what we need to do to support mothers in this time period. And so I just felt all that personally. And then because what I love to do is build communities and bring people together, then I just more and more started to feel compelled to find a way to unite us and to really think about solving the problem, not just for myself, but for so many other people.
I think that's so beautiful too. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think it's just because it keeps showing up is that like some of the greatest things that are created often seem to be created from someone's like pain point. and I don't know if that's like 100% true of everything, but I noticed like so many of these great creations, it's like, wow, this is really affecting me in like not a great way. Like, how can I create a community? How can I create some support? How can I make this thing better? And like, that's where the most beautiful things seem to be created. And it's I would have never thought that in a million years when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like, you never would have thought that, like,
yeah,
oh,
no, you think people just have ideas,
like,
or like you go to business school. You go to business school and you're like, okay, now I will invent X, or I will, you know, solve. But that's, I mean, the raw need that we have for something is really, I think, probably the mother of so much invention in terms of what it is.
Well, I think that's also too, because like we're looking at young people, right? Like,
Yeah.
18, like you're trying to figure out like that next idea. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
This and this, and then like you go through life and like, you know, most of us aren't super prepared for adulthood, and you get like smacked in the face and like trip and fall, and then you're like, oh, maybe like that sucks. I want to make that better. And, like that's where it comes from.
Yeah. Well, too, like with college and stuff, it's like you think at like 17, 18 years old, you're like picking a college, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna choose the thing that I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life, and then like you graduate and you're like, okay, now I have this degree that I spent 4.5 years like getting, and now I'm like prepared to do it. But like I know for me, graduating college, I was like, I just studied the same topic for 4.5 years, and I feel like less prepared to tell anybody anything. Like I'm only 21 years old. I haven't had enough life experiences to be a dietitian and tell you how to live your life.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I went to college in a small town in Indiana, and I got an amazing education. I met some great friends. But even just like that selection, I would never go to college in a small town. Like, I'm an urban person, or I love the coast. But at that age, it was like, I don't know, these are the decisions, you know, these are the opportunities before me. Yes, you think of these things. And I think, you know, for us, it wasn't, are you going to college? It's where you're going to college. That was like, that was the path forward. And I, you know, was able to take a lot out of it. But I think for me, it's sort of not just with building Pumpspotting, but everything I've done has sort of been like the best opportunities and experiences have come from that feeling of there's something about this that is like challenging or compelling. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know if I'm qualified for it, but I'm gonna like follow that feeling. The first job in social media I got was, so Stonyfield Organic Yogurt is located around here. And I've always been passionate about food and, you know, feeding people, clearly. But they were a company I admired, and they had a job for a social media manager, sort of starting position. And on paper, I had practically zero of the, you know, what's required of the job. I mean, I had a college degree and a background in writing, but I didn't have what they were looking for in terms of like a lot of the technical skills. But there was something about the company and the job that I was like, no, I just feel like I could do this, and I really want to do this. And so at 2 a.m., I was like, I'm going to send my cover letter and resume and sort of see what happens. And then at 2 a.m., I woke up like with this idea of, okay, I know how I'm going to do it. And so I wrote a cover letter that was all about beets. And it was literally how beets were the food that were disgusting to me. They tasted like dirt. I never liked them. They were really gross. And then one day, I started hearing people were like eating beets. They were a thing again. You know, everybody was paying attention to them. And then the next day, like, they were everywhere. Everyone was eating beets. They were, you know, this and that. And then after that, it was like everybody was trying to come up with a new beet recipe. Like, what's the coolest way to eat beets? And I said social media is like beets. It's one of those things that used to sort of live on, like, it's kind of bubbling under the ground, and then it started to come to life, and now everybody was doing it. And that essentially, for them as a company, they needed to be the recipe. Like, they needed, in the social space, to be like the coolest of the beet keeper. But that was my cover letter, like zero about my experience or what I was doing or what have you. And I was like, I'm just going to throw it out. I'm just going to put it out there. And it happened to hit Alex, the VP of marketing, happened to be, she came from the world of film, and she was a storyteller. And they were about to hire someone else. And she called me the next day, and within 4 days, I had the job. And so, if there's, like, for me, it's always been tuning into that, like, intuition. Like, what is it that speaks to me? I guess two things. What is it that speaks to me, and how would I do this if, like, the world of rules and constraints of the way you're supposed to do it wasn't upon me? And if I can hold to those two things, pretty much I feel like most of my experiences, that's what's driven me forward.
That's amazing too, because well, when you talk about this, especially you talk about college, it's kind of funny and like, granted, I always thought at the time I was just kind of like super nonchalant, like had zero. Like I knew I was gonna go to college, but like I didn't want to like apply at the last minute, and honestly because my mom was like, "What are you doing?" So but there was nothing in me that was like, "Yeah, I gotta go to college." You know what I mean? So I think it's so incredible how you talk about chasing those things that are compelling or inspiring, and then just doing something completely outside the box to make it happen.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, you can still go to college and pursue something outside the box. I mean, I think, you know, just talking to my niece who's 17, who's just graduating and thinking about doing a gap year and, you know, doing some work with us. And I was like, I think it's really smart to just think about like what you want to do and think about what you want to do and find the smartest or the most interesting or the kindest person you know who's doing it. Just go see if they'll meet you for coffee and where it goes. Sort of like finding those people, because people are like beyond skills. People are really the thing that moves you forward.
Yeah. So off of that then, let's talk about how you met your person to start the app.
Yeah, so I have an amazing yoga instructor who sort of like nourished me my whole life, and she, in fact, when I had Max, she would hold him while I did yoga, which is a pretty sweet thing, so that you don't have to be, because it's really hard to find the time to like have someone watch the kid and do yoga. So I was telling her, I said, I have this amazing idea, I want to build this app, I'm so excited about it, and I'm like, how do you build an app? Where do you go? What does that look like? And she had gone on a yoga retreat with a woman who owned an app studio, Lindsay Whitmer Collins, and she said, I'm gonna, you know, introduce you. And I said, oh, that's great, that's a start. And it was literally, it was sort of like those chemistry moments you have where you talk to someone. And Lindsay was on the phone because she did own an app studio, and that's what she did. She developed a lot of apps for women. And the more we talked, the more it was just like, she had lived in Boston and she was in San Francisco. You know, I lived in Maine and was always in San Francisco. We were both from the Midwest, so we were sort of had this like shared interest, and she loved the idea. So she developed the app for me, and then over time became a partner, because she's sort of what she's brought to Pumpspotting as a whole has just been like next level. That's so cool. I love that. But it was sort of like one of those things, because once you have an idea, you just start talking. You just start like telling people. You're like, gosh, well, you know, I'm thinking of this app and what have you at the grocery store or wherever you are, and then that's what's so amazing is that's how connections work. And often it's not just like your closest connections. It's not just like your first tier connections on LinkedIn. It's like the friend of a friend of a friend, or someone met someone on a yoga retreat.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I just had an experience like this with my brother the other day. It's like someone that I like talked to 2 years ago about a random thing. My brother happened to reach out to me yesterday and happened to like I had this connection that he needed. And it's just like the most random of things. If you just, as soon as you start putting things out there into the universe or talking about them, things just start to kind of align and fall into place where they're supposed to.
I so believe that. Yeah. I feel that the energy of sort of like putting your mind on it. And I know that they've done studies or said things, but certainly in my life, once I got in the vision to create the app, for example, once we started doing it, things started moving towards it.
For sure. Like I mean, hello, this podcast. Like straight up, I was just like, I remember like one day I was in my buddy's apartment and I was just like super fired up. I was like, yeah, this little like podcast. Dude, let's start a podcast. I want to start a podcast. And I think for me, it's mostly been because I was repressed so much in life. So now like everything I repressed for 25 years is coming out. So I just talk about it. I'm like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then like 3 months later, I started going to some random coastal connections thing, and I said something about a band, and they're like, let's get coffee. Like it's incredible.
It makes me wonder, because I think about it sometimes like with movies. Have you ever done this? You'll see a movie and you'll see an actor, and then all of a sudden you see that actor everywhere.
Or like cars, like I see one car and all of a sudden it's the same car.
Yeah, like for me, once you get pregnant, you see pregnant women. Now I see breastfeeding women everywhere.
Yeah.
But I love it. Sure. That's, you know, what have you, but it really, I don't know if like those things, I've always wondered if those things have always been there and your perception is just such that you're starting to, it's really like the kinetic energy of what's around you, but I just find that so fascinating.
Well, there's actually a scientific, like, I don't know if it's a law or a theory about that, is that like, it's not that those pumps, women pumping breasts, or like those cars.
Yeah.
I was like, where are we going with that?
No, like it's not that those aren't there. It's just your awareness isn't on them, and they actually talk about the way the human brain works. Like, and they talk about the art of manifestation, like why visualization is so important, because your brain cannot have or attain anything it's never seen. So that's why, like, once you see it, the gateway is open for that to just, it's there. And that's why I think when they talk about like limitless opportunity in this world, and how like you need to have an open mind and a like evolving mind, because there's always like anything is possible, because it's just, you need to like put it out there, like you said, start talking about it, and like let it come into your awareness, and then it's like there's been a veil in front of you this entire time, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's true, and that's also, it's so true, and it's also totally overwhelming, and you're trying to figure out where to start. I mean, you're like, gosh, limitless, that's, I mean, and now we feel that sort of, there's a lot of ways we could go with the company, and it's like, oh, everybody's like, there's so much opportunity, you could do this and this, and you're like, yes, and my head is spinning. Like, now somebody come in and give me the perception about where to go, and you have to create that, you know. My life, I think, has been a series of things like once removed. Did I tell you about this before?
I don't know. Please do.
I feel as though, and so this is maybe part by way of saying this is like that whole limitless, like sometimes you just have to like step into something, even if that's not like your ultimate passion or what it is, because it sort of starts the motion happening. The first job I got after grad school was in editorial. I was working for Ennis, which was a ski and surf magazine. And it was, you know, it was great. It was a good job, but then it was time to move on. And it wasn't, you know, it didn't last for a long time, but next door was a triathlon company. And so I got a job there that then really opened doors for me. Or like right before the Stonyfield job, I had interviewed for a job I wanted really badly. It was, you know, in Portsmouth, and it was pretty amazing, and I didn't get it, and I was heartbroken. But because I had just gone through the entire interview process, 2 days later when I got the Stonyfield opportunity, I was ready. And even when I met my husband, I moved to Minnesota for a job that wasn't really the job I wanted to be doing, but I walked into a bar and there he was, and it was like, that was what I was meant to do. And so even, you know, with Pumpspotting, it's sort of been a series of things where like, it's not quite right, but somehow that step forward then opened the door to what was next. Instead of it being like this, it started to like, the path started to kind of like steer me this way.
That resonates with me.
Wow,
So many levels.
Boom. Well,
So
like
many levels.
the spiritual, they talk like in like a spiritual path, right? Like everything you're going through right now is preparing you for what you asked for. And like you, like if you can let go of, I think oftentimes like pain and suffering is caused by like you think, like imagine if you were, I'm sure you were upset that you didn't get that dream job, but then like you wouldn't have done all those other things, you know what I mean? And it's like, if, I think I try and remember that when something like upsets me that I was really excited about, I'm like, okay, I'm not exactly sure why this is happening, because I really want it, but I'm gonna trust that everything's happening for me here, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of funny, because like a couple weeks ago I was driving, like blew out my radiator going to plow, and I'm like, okay, like deep breaths. I was like, okay, I really want to punch a hole in this window right now, but I'm just gonna trust it. I'm not really sure why paying $500 to fix a radiator is in my best benefit,
But I think on that same story, it's interesting, just to sidetrack real quick. He knew he like intuitively wasn't supposed to go plow that day. You had like something,
that thought.
He had a pain, but I was like, I don't think I should really go plow today.
yeah.
So it's like
and I ignored
listening
it
to those.
You ignored it.
because I was so like tired. I was just going and going and going, and like, yeah, it was just one of those ones where I'm like, dude, but I'm making like money. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean I shouldn't go? And then of course I went.
Tricky.
Yeah. How many times in your life have you ignored those intuitions? It's so, sometimes I think about that. Sometimes you look back and you're like, gosh, yes, my intuition was telling me this. And I was like, yeah, but I think my intuition was telling me lots of other things that I didn't pay attention to.
But it just takes you on this like squiggly path to like get you where you're supposed to.
And there's a fine line sometimes between what that feeling is, like fear and that, like, am I just afraid of this, or is this like a red flag?
Yeah.
I think that's the more and more for me. And sometimes this is why having quiet time and sometimes stepping away from
For sure.
your life is so important, because you need to be able to be tuned in enough to figure those things out. And I've made the mistake both directions, where one was like fear, and I didn't do it, and another time where I was like, this was a terrible idea, and I thought I was just afraid, and I wasn't.
But you learn every time.
And I think it's important too, because because it gets sharper each time. So I think as children, we're like born out as these magical unicorn creatures that like, see spirit. So we just do amazing.
Magical.
We are. But then like society, like societal pressures and conditioning kind of tells us to like not use that. And then eventually like life smacks you in the face and you like learn to reuse it. So it's like this re-sharpening of an old tool. And the only way you do that is by screwing up, getting it right sometimes, screwing it up. Because you're like, again, I'm like, nah, that's not right. Come on. I gotta go make money. This doesn't make sense. And then it's like, okay, well, now I'm like negative dollars. You know what I mean? So it is that sharpening and learning to retry. I think it's trust. It's really just learning to trust what you're getting.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm curious now, when, like, can we talk about that moment when you were like, this app is working? Like, it's working. Like, it's catching on.
Yeah. So we started out, and I think, I don't know, like after we got going, we got a good handful of moms on board, and then it started to roll. And then I feel as though, I think we probably had 1,000 downloads or moms on the app. It was like somewhere around there where we started to feel like, okay, this isn't just me that has this idea. Like, clearly there are other people who are feeling it. And I started to get emails from, moms and people who were using the app who were like, this is really changing things for me. Like, this is what you're doing. And I think, I remember the first one I got feeling just blown away. What I had put out to the world, because I needed it, actually was speaking to people. There's nothing better than that validation in terms of like what you're doing. And then we were in the middle of it, and we were thinking, okay, well, what's our next move? And then Lindsay sent me a text saying that Apple was doing a reality show for apps. And, we thought, well, of course. It was like Shark Tank meets The Voice, essentially, for apps, with a bunch of famous celebrity mentors and the chance to pitch some VCs for a lot of money. And we were still like young and naive. We had just like a handful of months ago launched the app, and felt like that's the best way to get exposure. Like, everyone who goes on their shows gets a massive exposure, and we're going to do really cool things. And so on a whim, I sent in the 1-minute video, and she called me back 10 minutes later.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I just got the chills.
Yeah. And I remember answering the phone, and so-and-so from casting or what have you, and thinking, holy cow, what have I just done? It was such a joke to us. Sort of, like, oh, let's just like put it out there. That's never going to happen. And then, we started to go through the casting process, which involved a lot of making videos and a lot of phone calls, and it was a pretty intense but exciting process all the same. And then you start to, your mind, you start to go like, okay, this is going to be such magic. We're going to do this, and the celebrity Gwyneth Paltrow and all, Jessica Alba, all these people who really care about our mission, it's gonna be my intuition was that this is gonna be the thing that moves us forward into not stardom, but the next phase, reaching more people. And so it was really exciting and terrifying. I mean, I was also I think I walked the line of both such a dreamer and excitement about what could happen, and also petrified that I had to put yourself out there in that way. And a reality show, they don't, you have to sign all these things, and the rights to things, and talk about walking your truth. You're like, I'm about to put myself out there in this massive way that they're filming that they can use. What happens if it's not received well, or I blow it, or it just talking about not sleeping. But at the same time, really exciting. I'm an overthinker and what have you. And so then we went on the show, and the crux of the show was that you got to do a 1-minute pitch on a moving escalator. So kind of like the elevator pitch,
That's so
cool. It was literally, the doors opened, you stepped onto the escalator, and you had 1 minute to make the pitch. So here we are. And we had to go first. You got
wait, what?
Yeah. So there were 12 teams that went the day we were there, and we had to go first, so we didn't get to see anyone go.
Oh my God.
You know, so we were really like standing there, the lights, the camera, they're like pump spotting's first, you know, and we're like head up there, and Lindsay and I are there. And I remember Lindsay said the sweetest thing before we went. She said, "Feel your feet."
Oh, wow.
Like just feel your feet. We're still grounded. We're still here.
Yeah.
Like this is us. We're just like feel your feet.
Oh, I love that.
Such good advice before those doors opened. And then at the end, it was Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Alba and Gary Vaynerchuk and Will.i.am, and so they were all sort of like boys. They were on chairs, you know. And you made your pitch, and if they liked it, they swiped green. And if they did, if they were interested in hearing more, they swiped green. If not, they swiped red. And if you got at least one green, you got to then step onto the stage and do your sort of Q&A pitch and a deeper thing. And so we did our escalator pitch, and we got 4 greens.
So cool.
Which was amazing, and also we didn't quite know how exciting it was because we'd never seen anyone else go. Like by the end of the day, we were like, we got 4 greens. Like that was huge. But we're like, wait, can we go back for a minute and like understand? But like we did not because we were so nervous, you know, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Which was great. And then we stepped on the stage, and then it was really hard. It was like the reality of how new we were in our business and what we didn't know really came to light. They were, you know, they were asking a lot of pointed questions, like how you should have way more active users than this, like what exactly is, you know, your business model gonna look like do women really need this when there's so much other stuff out there? And the one that like truly got to me was like, you know, I'm not sure you guys are the ones to build this.
Ooh,
that hurt.
And yeah, it's like, it's brutal. I mean, and you're standing there and the lights and you're like, but at the same time, I'm a fighter.
Of course, yeah.
So it also was like, it was like, I think, you know, it's a valid question for me to say, yes, I am, and why, and sort of stand up for that. And I think it, like, in a way, in that moment, it actually like catalyzed for me how much I cared about what I was doing. I mean, you know, in the beginning, it's like this thought, and I really want to help people and I put it out there. And I think that experience with that question was such a good thing because it made me like dig deep and feel like, fuck, yes, I am the person to do this. Like, there is no one better to be this voice and to forge this path. And like, do I have it all figured out? No way. Like, but I'm going to, and it almost was like, it almost challenged us to think about how to like build this business. And so, you know, at the end of the day, they were really nice. They gave us lots of hugs.
Yeah.
And, like, you're early, it's all good.
Yeah.
We're like friendly, and it's really exciting and great. And then I tried to walk up the escalator.
Not supposed to do that, really?
Nope. You're supposed to just like walk off the stage. I mean, we'd never seen it, and they were so nervous, and you get done, and we just hug Gwyneth and everyone, and I like turned around, and I didn't know, they didn't show, there were no arrows for you. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. That's great. Awesome. But yeah, but then we were so like it was like amazing and catalyzing, and then we were so dejected. Yeah. I mean, like, in your head, you thought it was going to go one way and then it doesn't. And not only does it not go that way, but then you just sort of had this like on such a deep level of rejection. Like, you know, so we got really fucking drunk. I was waiting for it. Because what else are you going to do? Like, when you feel that way, the only thing we can think of is like tequila. Yeah. Tequila.
Her truth, people.
Because I just told you, I feel 1,000%. I mean, imagine the feelings at 1,000% of that. I was like, I just like drink the feelings away, which I don't usually do. But like in that moment, it was like, yeah. But so then what happened is that I was probably still drunk the next morning, but you know, you couldn't sleep. We couldn't sleep between the you know, the adrenaline rush and all that stuff. And we were in adjoining hotel rooms. And so Lindsay and I were here, and we were like texting each other. And I think she was looking at her Oracle cards. So I think she was like trying to like tap into the universe about like, what does this mean for us and where are we going? And was like texting them to me. And we started talking. And then at 4 a.m., she's like, I'm up. Are you up? Yeah, just come over.
Yeah.
And so we got together and we started sort of like hashing out what had just happened. And the other question that had really like was so stuck in my head was Gary's question of like, how well do you really understand your users? Like great, I know what you're doing, but like, how well do you really know what they need so that you can build them? And so we have a video, which you guys have seen.
I was gonna say.
So Lindsay pulls out her camera, and at 4 a.m. she has this video of like us just going on about what the next plan. And we were like, okay, if we are going to understand our moms, and the way to do it is we are going to buy a bus.
Yes.
We're going to buy a bus, and we're going to like make it beautiful for moms.
Yeah.
And we're going to take it across the country, and we're going to give them a place to nurse and hug, and we're going to like serve them flowers and water, and we're going to make them feel special and amazing and supported. And in the process, we'll really get to know the state of breastfeeding. Like, what is it, and what is it that we need to build? And we'll like prove to ourselves and Gary and the world that like this needs to happen, that the community we're building is real, and the process is, you know, like gonna happen. And we were like, that's it. So we were super fired up about that. And then it was like, again, like, a bus? Like, yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah. That's such a good idea.
It is.
And then, you know, like 2 months later, I'm like, Lindsay, like, how are we gonna get a bus? Like, what does that even look like? We have no money. We're like, this is so scrappy. Like, that's crazy. And then the whole universe conspiring against you, or conspiring for you. She had friends who had lived in an RV and turned it into a beautiful space. And she had called Lindsay and said, you know, like, we're trying to sell it. Do you know anyone that needs an RV? And so we had one conversation, and we were like, okay, that's it. There's our bus.
Oh my God.
So she was 23 years old.
So perfect.
She's 1994 Safari Continental. My favorite is that she had an airbrushed leopard on the back.
Oh,
okay.
Spirit animal, yeah.
Legit.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you know, it was really pretty inside, but it was like the roof was leaking and the stair didn't work and like all these things. But I bought it.
So good. So
I was like, yes, we're gonna buy it.
Did you hear that, Mom?
Yeah. It was like, okay, it's $10,000. That's more than I spent like ever
Yeah.
on anything. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it.
Yes.
And I think my husband was like, okay, you're gonna buy an RV, and then what? You know? But we did it, and at that point, now when I look back, it's crazy. I was just like, almost like once we put it out there, we were gonna do it. And then this vehicle appeared literally, and we were like, that's it. That's how we're gonna get to know people. We're gonna do it.
You can't ignore that.
No, but like, I had no idea how I was gonna do it or what I was gonna do. It's like, then I owned an RV, and then what? Like, now you have to do a cross-country tour?
Yeah.
Who's gonna drive it? And like, how am I gonna pay for all the repairs? And like, who's gonna believe in us? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
So that's where we were.
It's so good.
But I think you talked about even in your bio, just like the best things you've done, you've been absolutely terrified of.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that living? Like, I'm starting to realize that that's like living.
Yeah.
And that makes life exciting. I mean, I'm not saying you probably should believe in it, not just do it, but that is so cool to believe in something so much where you're like, there's like 8 zillion questions you don't know the answer to. I'm just like, okay, here we go.
I love to
Because
like.
you wouldn't do it if you knew.
Yeah.
Honestly, the truth
Seriously.
is, I think like you have to not know. Because I never would. I don't like. If I had known how much stress and like what was going to come. I mean, I would do it again. I would do it again. I don't mean that, but I think to some extent, if I had at the time of just buying the bus based on the dream and the idea, if I had thought through the insurance, like how it is really hard to get commercial insurance for an RV. They just don't do it, for example.
Yeah.
But like if I had known all those stages that were going to just be like really hard, near insurmountable obstacles, you would have gone like the pros and cons list doesn't add up.
Yeah, but I think that's like again when you're doing something from here,
Yeah.
like, and clearly when someone like questions like Or you guys, someone's like a fire has been stoked,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, let me show. Maybe it's not even about let me show you, let me show myself kind of thing.
Yes, totally.
And I think that's the difference. And I mean, that's why we created this podcast, and like that's what I'm doing. What I'm doing is like it's something from here, and like there might be obstacles and like terrifying things, and there have been those things before, but it's been things that I'm just like, I'm just doing this because.
Well, then you figure it out, and you learn so many things, and you also learn like that you can do scary things, like you know, it's not so risky. They asked that question at the event. They said, you know, are you a risk taker? And part of me was like, yeah. And part of me was like, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Like some days I feel like I am, and other days it's never like I never thought about it in those terms. To me, it just was the excitement of like I really want to see this through, and also like doing something no one's done before.
Yeah.
That whole like, you know, until someone sees it, they don't know what it is, they can't believe in it, but like, I could see it. I could see this bus and what it could become. And then we had a really exciting, like the way people came to us. So that, you know, we needed the wrap and the design of the bus to be really like remarkable. Like I wanted the RV to be what was in my head, like a bright light and really like inviting, but you know, I mean, putting giant boobs all over a bus in like a respectful, like uplifting, you gotta find the right artist, kind of, to make that happen. And I had gone on a ski, see the once removed, this is the once removed thing. I'd gone on a, like a girl's birthday weekend, and Anna, one of the girls that was there, I was just telling her what I was doing. She said, no, my sister's a graphic designer in New York. And I said, oh, that's cool. She said, oh, she likes to do kind of cool projects like this. And she introduced me to her sister Marley, and like, honestly, like right out of the gate, the design for the bus was what it was. She got it right, like, and she's transformed our brand since then. And it was like a happenstance thing, but having her can't come on board and set the bus in motion, then it was like she got the vision and started to bring it to life. And so, and then for me, really like, once we went across the country and, you know, we met over 3,000 moms and traveled 17,000 miles, and, you know, and we got towed and we had so many repairs, and like there 3 weeks before I left, I didn't have a driver. Like there were all these things that were not, it was not just like, great, you got this bus and this road happened, but every time we had an event, it was magic. It was just like so meaningful. So.
I want to dive into that, but first I want to go backwards just for a second.
Yeah.
Like back to this, I'm like hung up on this moment of like you viewing the rejection as a catalyst. And I just think that's such a cool way to put it, an important thing. And I'm trying to think how I can like heartbreak, for example, like how I can relate this to as many of the people as possible. It's like you get dumped and you're heartbroken and you feel so rejected, but it's like you can choose in that moment to like, or in any moment to just like not get up and like keep going, or you can choose that as like a catalyst and say, now that's like my reason for understanding how strong and independent and incredible of a person that I am on my own. And I think that's, I don't know, that's like kind of how I related to that. And like, do you have like any piece of advice for anybody who might be listening who maybe just like got like hit in the face with something and they're feeling so rejected? Like what advice do you have for somebody like moving forward?
Well, in the video, we said this, and I really think I've always felt this way, is that we woke up the next morning and we didn't ask what was wrong, we asked what's next. Because for me, I think I've been blessed to be an optimist. And I think when that happens, like, let it soak in and take the time to feel the rejection and to, like, overthink the heck out of it. What happened, like, decompress it. And then stop and think about what's before you. Like, what is the one nugget of that experience that spoke to you, or that that can compel you to think about doing something differently? Or what did you learn that you really need? I just had someone who started working for me. This isn't heartache, but in terms of career, started working for me, and after 2 weeks said, it's like, I'm so sorry, I'm such a failure, but I can't. This isn't right. And I was like, it's exactly right, because what it taught you is where you need to go next.
Yeah.
And that's not failure.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
That's like a step forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think you just, like, that's, for me, it's always about, it sounds so cliche, those steps forward, but it's like, what can you see in the future? Like, what can you see that's good, whether that's small or big? It doesn't have to be the next person you want to be with. It doesn't have to be the dream. It just has to be like, what's one thing that's going to make you feel like you are moving past this, you are moving towards something brighter, and just like hold on to that and don't dwell. I'm such an overthinker, but the biggest lesson I taught myself in life is like, that doesn't serve you beyond a point.
I think it's so incredibly brave to just step forward, not only because that rejection, but like scientifically, like your subconscious will wire itself where like X experience created a huge amount of pain.
Yeah.
So now it is wired into your brain that we're going to try and avoid that. So the next time you go at that, which, dude, you went on the next day by a bus. Like, how like badass is that? You know, I mean, and so to me, it's like not only is it brave emotionally and from the outer perspective, but you like are like, hey, brain, I don't care what you say, like we're going to get something.
Yeah. And
that's a whole different. I don't even know what you can call that, but it's incredible.
Yeah.
Because I know I feel it. I know there's probably millions of people. Like you get that huge pain point, and you're like.
Well, and it's stepping into that thing that like the universe, for lack of a better word, like needs you to do too. Like the amount of people that have been impacted by what you've done because you didn't settle in your rejection and you decided to move past it. Like that's just such a beautiful and like breathtaking thing. And I think that's so important for people to know that like when you do move past that, like you are making a difference.
Yeah.
Like, you have the ability to make a difference.
Well, and I think there's so much connection that we need in this world more than ever. We're just starved for it on every level. And I think that chances are whatever it is that you need, someone else needs it too.
Oh yeah.
Like that's not like even though we're all unique and an individual, whatever that is, if it's like a product you want to create, there is someone else who also needs that. If it's like a story you have to tell that's like in your gut, there's someone who needs to hear it or who can relate to that. And the truth is no one can do it the way like we can. You think about whenever I get discouraged about the fact of trying to build something and I'm like, oh, everybody else is doing it and there's competitors or no one's gonna want this because everybody else, it's like I go to Target or wherever and I look at all the water bottles. And I'm like, there are 100 million water bottles, and every year someone comes out with a new next best water bottle, and they keep selling them, and they keep innovating, and people keep buying them because there is a need for water.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So there is a need for whatever it is you are compelled to do, and there is a need for what you are compelled to do in the way that you do it. Because I truly feel that one of the things that has made this journey like so powerful for me and so connected is that I'm just showing up and doing things the way I feel that I would do them, or the way like how would Amy do them, and that's what connects. It's not just like that I'm the only person who's breastfed. It's like the way I say it or the way I do it, and that's like who we are. And you can't like you just gotta keep holding on to that and putting it out there.
There is a need for what you do, the way you do it. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
That's our quote.
That's so powerful.
That's right for them.
And I think we can re-listen to this.
Someone write
that
down.
Yeah,
that's so
that's
powerful.
incredible. I thought you could just
I love that. I think when you were at the panel, connection was your word as well. That you said.
Yes. The panel, as a side note, the panel, everybody was like beforehand was getting questions about like what their journey had been like, how they had the idea to do it. My question is, what are you looking for?
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of a big question.
Yeah.
I was like, is there like, and she's like, oh no, you can. I was like, oh man, no pressure.
Yeah.
But I do think connection. I think like we're looking for it in all that we're doing. And certainly for me, that's what motivates me the most. Like I love, and connection doesn't just have to be like this big idea. Like I've always loved it. The idea of creativity. When you're in a room and you have like you're bouncing something off someone, and you come up with someone and someone comes up with something else, or like together you come up with this concept. Like that high for me, even if it's just like a social media post, but you like blow the coffee out of the water. Like I can live for 2 days on those moments of like creative connection.
That's
I love that.
That's so legit because as soon as you said that, it took me back to a sushi dinner I had. Rhea was there, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago. Miles was there. and Shelly was there, Rebecca, there's all these people, and that's exactly what we did. There was a dinner just to like celebrate, and then someone started saying this idea, and then like the next person was like, oh, and we were all like, oh. And it's like, yeah, it literally feels like a high, and it's so cool. And it's also, because you talked about that this was born from kind of this feeling of isolation, and to me, like, connection saves lives, connection builds collaboration, connection builds community, connection builds love, and it's so important. I love that that's your word.
Well,
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the reason I like brought that up, even just for myself, is I do workshops every month, and I have the woman who like sign up, send me like 3 words that they are hoping to get from the experience.
Cool.
99%, if not 100% of every person who's gone has written down the word connection. And I think it's just, that's such a, everybody, like everybody on this earth needs and is fueled by and just needs connection in their life.
And real connection.
Yeah.
I like, now as a parent, I have two little ones. They're 4 and 6, and one of the things I think that matters most to us is teaching them what real connection is. That as simple as when we go to the grocery store, we look the person in the eye who is checking out our groceries, and we talk to them about their day. Or with your friends, it's like it's so easy to be superficial in all things in life, and I think I would like to believe that if you can form early on how deep relationships serve you as a person and what it's like to cultivate them and why, that hopefully you continue to do that. Because I think what social media and all that the world has become so surface level in terms of connections and things, but it's not hard to actually have a real just connection with someone. I was in New York talking to one of my sort of heroes in the maternal wellness space, and every time we went somewhere, she'd be like, how are you today? But in this way that was just so her and so authentic, but the way they reacted to that is it's not hard to find. It doesn't always have to be you go to these workshops and you find these amazing things, but connection doesn't always have to be finding your soulmate. It can just be day to day being mindful of the people around us and what they're like and what you're like, and actually looking them in the eye and saying something thoughtful.
Yeah, it's presence. I think is the word that keeps coming up for me. It's literally, can I look into your eye and how are you?
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to, how are you? Okay, I'm good. But I always want to be how are you?
You can tell that. Sean really wants to know.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm just.
Do people bare their souls to you all the time?
All the time.
Both of you.
All the time.
Yeah.
We talk about that. I mean, I think I've become this open person again since I've been so repressed, and it's just for the most part, it just depends on the situation, but about 95% of the time, oh, here's my 52 card deck. And what I think that gives people is it's here's your permission slip to be messy, real, whatever that looks like, because that's me. No matter what perception of me you have, that's really me. And then people just are blah, 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 blah.
The first time Sean and I actually met and got coffee, he said, what did you say? People will go as deep as you go.
Oh, people can only meet you as deep as they've met themselves.
Yeah.
Write that one down.
Yeah. And I thought that's always stuck with me. And I think too, that's kind of an important part of why and how we do the podcast too, is we don't, you can have surface level conversations all day long with people, but it's for us, it's so important to kind of share that harder stuff. Yeah. The stuff that you are struggling with, and I didn't even mean to go here, but maybe let's, is there anything that you have going on in your life right now that kind of is a struggle, makes you seem a little less like a superhero?
No, I'm not a superhero at all. I mean, that's the whole perception thing. All I can see every day are the challenges and the hard decisions I'm making. Not every day, but I mean, that's for me, it's not about, I appreciate these moments to do this podcast or Creative Mornings, these events, because you get to reflect a bit on the wins and sort of this story you had. But the truth is, when you're in it, there isn't a lot of time for that. For me, it's how do I keep this business going from a financial perspective? And I have massive imposter syndrome. every day am in new situations that I've never been in, where I feel like everyone's smarter than me in the room, and I feel like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, who's gonna listen to me? I get flustered. I lose my words. I just don't feel worthy of sitting at the table like over and over again in my life right now. Like, that's what I'm struggling with, and it really sets me back from like the passion coming through of like what I need to sell where I want to go. I'm afraid to ask for enough money. I'm afraid for the value I see. I'm afraid to say I don't have everything figured out, because I think you need me to have it all figured out. And what I'm struggling with is like, how do I not fall under the weight of that like worry that I'm gotten here because of luck and excitement, but not because I'm able to like take it to the next place.
I mean, that's so interesting to hear that. I highly disagree. I think you're amazing. Obviously, that's perception, but I mean, I honor, like, that's, man, it's just so, but like, this is so real. This is entrepreneurship, right? Like,
yeah,
you see Tony Robbins, you see Gary Vaynerchuk, or all these other entrepreneurs, and they just look like superheroes. But like, even though they have confidence, like, they have this too. And I think music. I want to take this to music because there's just one guy I love listening to. He's a rapper from Michigan, and he talks about in a lyric in a song where like a lot of people see these like people blow up and like it's one day, right? Like it just happens overnight. But he's like, they've been working at it for years, and even though they blow up and like they step on stage and they look super confident, like there's a reason a lot of them are like cranking pills and weed and bottles, because like that's those feelings that you're right there, those exact ones you're talking about. Like, I don't think they ever go away.
Yeah.
I don't care how confident. There's always going, and like that's why I think I've learned in my life. It used to be about I did a bodybuilding competition, right? Like, got my dream body, got to the weight I wanted, body fat percentage, all these things, and I'm like, I was there, and then it's like, well, now what? Like, what? Oh man, it's supposed to go for like 5 seconds. Like, what? So it's not about the destination, because there's always another level. There's always a level deeper you can go. There's always, you know what I mean? So it's just such an interesting thing. It's like such a paradox. Right?
Yeah. And I think if you can remain excited about every level, like that's what keeps, like there is no end. It's just like the joy of the journey from here to there and there to there. And I mean, the other thing for me that I struggle with, if I'm being totally honest, is balance. I am juggling 2 children, 2 businesses, like a relationship. I can't remember the last time I worked out. It's like 6 years. I don't know. I forget to eat half time. I have so much in my head that there's speaking of like mental health and all that, it's like on the surface it's all great, but like half the time for me it's also like I need to stay healthy to keep this all moving forward. And there are days I wake up and I'm paralyzed from actually doing anything, because all I can see is like this universe of things that need my attention. And like, where do you get to the point where you're like, I don't even know which of you to like pick out of the air or do, and then it makes me want to just like not get out of bed. And that's the like real truth of some days it's having to like push past the overwhelm for me and figure out like how can I pare things back or make sure, because like I would say I'm like very capable of a lot of multitasking, and I'm very passionate about many things, but sometimes to my detriment, because sometimes you're not supposed to be passionate about all these things. You're supposed to like step back.
Well, while you're talking about these moments for you to reflect, let's just reflect back the amount of strength it has to get out of bed. Because I've felt that exact thing, maybe not in this scenario, but just so many times in my life, and like for years it crippled me and I wouldn't get out of bed. And then there was like a point where it was this year, it happened, and I mean it was like I'm ready to go throw up, like your mind's going so fast that it's like, holy shit. And, you know, I was able to work through that. I was able to use the tools. So I want to like reflect back to you, like how strong you are to be able to like see this fucking storm, if you will,
Yeah.
and be like, holy shit, it's big and scary. I don't want to get out of it. And then be like,
It's still beautiful.
okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Like that takes an immense amount of strength, and then to just like keep it perpetuating forward, and then to care for 2 kids and like have a good husband relationship thing, marriage, whatever. I couldn't think of the word.
And show up here today.
Yeah, like what the?
Dang.
But that's it, and that's it, guys. It's like it's messy. It doesn't always like look pretty, but it's just about showing up. I think that's the biggest word. Show up.
True.
Like it may not, in your own perception, look like the most magical thing, but just show up.
Yeah.
Like just getting out of bed sometimes is like a massive win. And it's just like you got momentum, you're up and moving,
It's true.
and then you get going.
It's true. One step. And just like also the whole like showing up and then just the being present. I mean, once I get out of bed, if I can remain in the moment, like I'm not thinking about that storm right now.
Yeah.
I'm just like enjoying our conversation and the ability to like be here and not be thinking about that. And I think that's the other thing that's hard, but if you can do it, it's like getting up and then staying here. And the rest will sort of come. Or not come, because you know what, if it doesn't come and the day goes miserable, you just go to bed.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
so you
Do
get it.
it again.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Do it again. I am
Yeah.
super resilient. Like I thank my parents for the fact that like I like things bounce off me. That's the other like if you can learn. I think part of the like the ability to like navigate this like these big crazy things is the ability to go like it's like whatever.
Well, not only that, what we were talking about this earlier, right? We get so much information distraction. So even if your eyes, if you screw up or mess this up, like someone read 8 bazillion different things that they're not even thinking about that by the end of the day.
Oh, so true.
I know. Well,
So
oh
true.
my gosh, that was one of the most vital lessons I learned in life, and I mean this in the best way. You are not as important as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to take the day off from work, do it.
Yeah.
You need to go on vacation for 3 weeks. Like everybody will be just fine.
We'll
Like
figure
you
it
need a different job. That's okay because it's we feel as though and like I have to do this as a business owner especially like they need me to these decisions and showing up. And the truth is sometimes when I like if I'm having a rough day and I can't get to something and someone just takes it upon themselves, oftentimes they do it way better than I would have. Like the letting go of that piece.
Yeah.
And so I think it helps take the pressure off immensely if you can like do things in your life that get you to like realize that like your role in this, whether it's your relationship or your you know your team or what have you, is a part of it but not all of it. Like that matters.
Yeah.
I think, and then that comes down to the word trust, trusting the universe, trusting yourself, trusting others, you know, and it can be obviously extremely hard. I mean, it's like, imagine trusting someone, I could imagine trusting someone to watch your kid. Like your business is like, you have a third kid, or you have 4 kids apparently.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
whew.
You know, so you
I
see
can't
there's a lot
even
of-
imagine. Like you blow my mind.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
I remember when you first told the story about like, so I did beforehand, I'm like, to speed max and eat some food and like hang with family, and then I'm like pumping, and then I'm like racing to the airport, and I get on the airport, and I pump like 3 times on the plane, and then so I was like, I was getting to see like breathing heavy.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like this has just given me, like personally, like a really incredible reminder to like thank my mom.
Oh,
Like thank my mom.
thank
for
your
all
mom.
this. Like
Thank
thank
your
your moms.
seriously.
Thank you, moms. Like
Yeah.
really, just truthfully.
Yeah. That's adulthood is pretty cool. Like not just parenthood, but all those things. I think being able to see your parents and the people who raised you in such a different light. There is something so amazing about the perception of those who raised us, and the older you get, and what that means. Because then, like, also then your parents start to age, and like this shifting
It's the
of
crazy
things.
dynamic. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, each day that goes on and each new experience you have, you're like, how, like what? Like, and you realize like the sacrifices they made. And I think sometimes, at least in my experience with my parents, it's like I realize they sacrifice so much of themselves,
Yeah.
like their own like well-being for mine. Oh, I'm trying to cry now. It's like it's super intense when you sit there and be like,
Totally.
oh,
I'm just forgiving, you know, like they do, like as a parent now, I'm like, gosh, I'm doing the best I can. Like they do the best they can. And like, I don't know, they just got out of bed the same way we do. You know, to be able to honor that. Totally. I love when you can see someone in a different light, like, gosh, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a freeing thing for everyone, I think, to be able to say that.
Oh, so freeing. Oh, it's been so good talking with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I feel like
God. No, this is.
No, is anyone still here?
Do not apologize.
Amazing.
No apologizing.
Okay.
Incredible.
It's been so much fun. Thanks for letting me share my story.
Yeah, this is so, like, I just feel like we could write a book on this podcast. Like, there is so much wisdom. I might do that later.
Yeah, maybe.
Seriously.
Well, I can't wait to read your Wild Hearts book.
Yeah, no, I mean, this has been incredible. I mean, there's just so many things. I have to find, we talked about this last week. I feel like these are like, whether you want to call it a healing session or a learning or like a wisdom or like, this is like a business. I mean, it's just amazing the like wisdom you can soak up from these and just like dropping like these veils and just feeling like, okay, all right, we're doing the right things. We're like, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I feel that.
Yeah.
It's so
I
important.
think it's like we learn something every week. I think like whoever we're interviewing typically takes something really incredible away from it. Like, and then people who are listening, like just getting a message from somebody listening and being like, that impacted my life. It's just like, it's a win for everybody. So connection. It's connection.
Oh, there it is.
Well, on that, our final question: what does it mean to have a wild heart?
I think it just means like to go all in, to go like feel 1,000%, like give 1,000%, just like be you 1,000%. I think just like for me, it's just like let it lead you, let it go, and the rest will come.
I think it's so funny. I keep getting these like super vivid images when you say stuff, and I just picture like you. There's like a lasso Midwest girl, lassoing your heart, and like literally your heart just like zipping, and you're like dragging behind it. Like,
I do feel like that a lot. I do like that whole. I do feel like, you know, everyone's different, but I do feel like I lead with that. Like, and it's terrifying and sometimes really hard, but it's served me well.
I love that.
Brene Brown said that though. Like it's like to lead with your heart is like this brave and like scary, and like it's always scary, and it doesn't always do the thing that's easy, which is obviously terrifying, but it always is taking you where you need to go. You know?
It's certainly been rewarding.
That's for sure.
Where can the people find you?
Oh, yeah. You can follow the company at Pumpspotting on all the social media channels on pumpspotting.com, and I am a VanHaren if you want to follow me.
Yay!
Cool.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
all right, guys.
Thank you guys for
Get out there and
tuning
kick some
in.
ass. And don't get paralyzed and lasso your heart.
Okay.
Ready, go.
All right. Good stuff.